Everybody, welcome back to the Reality Report. I am your host with my brother from another mother. The last time I said partner in crime. Welcome aboard, Mr. Tony Silo. What is happening, my man?
What's going on, Craig, man? Hello, everybody. It's great to be back with everybody again on this beautiful Friday night.
Tony, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, doing good. Had a
I
lot
don't
of
know if
shit
you
going
heard.
on.
I've been under the weather a little bit, so I'm glad to be back. I'm full of piss and vinegar, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I heard. What's up,
You
everybody
heard
in
about
the
it. All right.
chat?
You want to introduce our guest so we can bring him to the stage?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we got Mr. Jimmy DeMonica from New Jersey. He is the son of Juicy, who is second in command to Bobby Cabert. So let's let it roll.
Welcome aboard, Jimmy.
How
we
are you,
doing,
everybody?
Jim?
How are you?
All good, brother. All good. How are
Good
you
to see
tonight?
you, Tony. Good to see some real men left in this world.
Yeah, we're still here. We still here, you know. That's the whole thing. Who's
Don't
real?
make me
Who's
feel, but
not?
we're here.
How are you tonight, Jim?
Oh, fine. Just enjoying this Friday night. I just ordered something, so by the time the show concludes, I'll be able to get my Italian on by having some good Italian eating going on. You know.
There we
I
go.
got it. I got it. When the show ends, I'm gonna eat it. All right. Okay, so what we got going on lately is we got a lot of confusion from people in different chats, and they're sending questions and emails here about who did the men in Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, who did the guys in Jersey answer to? Did they answer to this? Did they answer to that? Let's start out from the bottom, going in the chain of command and how it operated from Jersey upwards. And you're the
Okay.
man to do it. So why don't you shoot?
Well, as far as it goes, the left arm is always in New York, and the right arm is in New Jersey. And
Correct.
what happens is our guy was always Jackie D'Amico, he's passed away now. That's why I can say his name.
Yeah.
But Jackie was our main guy, and Jackie was the one who would handle all the Jersey guys on this side that were straightened out. So like my dad and little Sammy Cabert, they all had to answer to Jackie. And like, as a matter of fact, like every time it was Christmas time or whatever, we had to make sure that we gave him a nice gift to show the appreciation every year of what he did, for our side to anoint us with that power. Again, left side New York, right side New Jersey.
Okay, so now going base. Let's say a soldier, an associate. All right, so people aren't confused. They didn't jump straight to Jackie, obviously. They had to go. If I'm your soldier, we'll put me and you in the mix. I would come to you if you were my captain, right? Or, above me. And then it's
Right.
I'm out altogether. And then you make the decision where you're going with it, correct?
Right, exactly. In other words, it would be up to me to start romancing your name to them on the other side across the river to New York, to let them know, hey, I got this guy. He's been real good with me, and every time when I hand him my envelope, a lot of it's been coming from him with his ideas, and we work together. And in other words, that's how you give a guy a play. But then again, it always takes time when it came time to us. It takes years before they look to straighten somebody out in New Jersey. I don't know why, but it takes a long time.
Well, let me give you what I've learned and been told. Usually, you got the New York guy, the New Jersey guys are going to put a name into New York. Is what the way I was, brought up knowing. But the difference is, most of the times, the guys in New York have a son, a nephew, a brother-in-law, or something, and they got a little bit of an easier road. So it would take, let's say, if it took a guy in New York 5 to 10 years, it'll take a guy in Jersey 20 years almost to get them, to that point. Is that
That's
true?
exactly right. That's exactly right. A lot of times, because if like whether it was Frankie Loke's son or whatever, it's always a lot easier for a son of one of the main guys in New York to get their son straightened out because they're closer to the boss and they have the boss's ear more. Whereas on our side, they require you to more or less prove yourself. You have to wind up going away, have some years away. Then when you come out, do a second bid or sometimes do a third bid. And then they realize that you have the makings and what you need to be around, to be straightened out. Where then they'll say, I'm not going to, but usually it's always, like in my case, it was Little Sammy. Little Sammy was the one who told me that it was he was choosing me. He said we all have a chance. Every crew was told we can only make 2 guys. All right. And at that point, he told me, he said, you're definitely there because you handle all my gambling, and I know you since you're a baby. So he knew after 50 arrests and all the other things that I've already proved myself with, that I knew I had to keep my mouth shut, that I was a candidate for Little Sammy to come. So in other words, so whenever you have somebody that's a boss on the Jersey side, he's the guy that will have you mentioned. He's the one that'll give you the nod and put you on record with New York. That's usually how it's done.
Okay, so now we're familiar with streets that other people might not be familiar with. So now if you're a Jersey crew and you're going to Sullivan Street, we'll say, then you're going to see somebody in the West Side, correct?
Right.
So that would be the Genovese crew. All right.
Exactly. Well, that happened to me in the 80s, in the middle 80s, when I was with Johnny Moose, another guy who passed away, but Johnny Moose was real close with Johnny DiGilio. And we had a problem in the after hour club one night, and this kid came there with guns against us, and we had to retaliate back. And then he told me, he said to me, he said, Jimmy, now you're going to go see this guy. He went like that. You want to go see this guy. You're going to go to Sullivan Street and meet him. This way, when you tell him, and this way we're going to get 4 affidavits. An affidavit means he was going to get 4 OKs. This is what we were going to do. It never transpired because the kid was involved with drugs. He was a real hot wire, and he wound up getting killed anyway by Colombians. So in a way, it saved us because everybody and their mother would have known it was us that did it anyway, because it was that much of a public spectacle in the after-hour clubs when I was running all the after-hour clubs for Johnny Moose.
Okay, so now if you were called and you had to go, we'll say, to Mulberry Street, you want to explain what family and who you'd be going to see over there?
Well, Mulberry Street would usually be the Ravenite. It would have to be our side normally. But then again, each crew may have their own particular setting where they're at. In other words, another crew could be around the corner for all that matter. But a lot of times, we don't romance another crew. We don't lay down for another crew. So whenever we had to go, as far as Mulberry Street, we knew where we had to go. Every Tuesday night was shape up night. We'd always drive in with Dad, Cabert, and I think I told my brother Craig there the story how when we were coming out of the Holland Tunnel and Canal Street.
Say that again. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, let me hear that story.
Yeah, there was a black guy there washing down the windows, and he cleaned the windows. And then, so when he came in the back to get a tip, so we rolled the window down, and Cabert was sitting there, Tony Proto at the time, Little Sammy, me, my father, and we were sitting there because we had to go shape up that night. It's the night where John wanted everybody there. Usually it was Tuesday. And he peeped his head in the window, and he went, if I was ever looking at 4 crooks, I'm looking at them now. We laughed so hard. And so Cabert says, give him a $50 bill. But he was so, the guy was so in tune to what he was looking at. It was really, really funny. It was a funny story.
Tony.
Yes, sir.
Tony, I'm going to ask Jimmy a question only because he brought up Tony Pro. and it goes to one of our guests, one of our subs, somebody that's emailed me, and they asked me next time we have Jimmy on to ask this question. And what the question was, do you know of Sammy, Tony Pro, and the gentleman I mentioned to you before, Buddy Macagrasso, ever were in Rollway State Prison at the same time together? Do you know if that's possible?
Well, you were talking about Buddy Muss. Buddy Muss, right. We call him for short. Buddy Muss. Buddy Muss and Sonny Muss, they both passed away. But Buddy was the last guy to be made. He was one of the two guys that got straightened out at that time because I was in jail at the time. That's why it never happened for me, because when the books finally opened, I was away on the federal beat.
Right.
I did the 80 months federal, along with 8 years flat with the state concurrently.
Yep.
Right,
that question went out to a gentleman by the Beast was his name.
But Tony Pro, I'm pretty sure. I think they were in Rollway together, because it was a time where I think all three of them were, even though it was a short amount period of time until they got designated somewhere else. Because a lot of times when you're co-defendants, they do not keep you in the same place. Because Tony Pro, Sammy, what else? Well, at the time it was Joe Rackets. Joe Rackets went away also. There was like about 8 of them, that's 7 or 8 of them that went away at the time. Normally they do not put you in the same particular place. That's why I got lucky when it was with my dad, because my dad and I weren't on the same case. So Judge Greenaway, he was a black judge. He was very fair. He allowed me to go to jail in Otisville, do my time, so I could be with my dad.
Which is pretty odd. You usually don't get that kind of, respect from the judge to let a father and son serve time together. But I got a question here.
Yeah, but Tony, it was a hardship, Tony, because all the years he was away from me, from when I was 2 years old to 12, he was gone. Then he was gone another 6 in Atlanta, Georgia. Then he was gone another 8. Then he went away for 17. But the last 7 of those 17, I was in jail with him as his cellmate. I slept on a top bunk. He was on the bottom bunk.
God bless. All right, we got a question in the chat from Tommy Stiggs. He said, usually a highly respected Jersey captain being proposed would usually get the nod to be made. I was never at those levels, so I couldn't ask that. What do you think about that? I couldn't answer it
easy. I'm a New York guy. I wouldn't know.
Wait, what was the question again?
If a highly recognized...
Hey, I'll put it up on the thing.
A highly respected New Jersey captain proposed someone, they would typically get the nod. What's your experience in a situation like that?
Yeah, but let me see. Highly respected New Jersey captain. He's saying that the guy's a captain already.
Captain already,
no.
Tommy.
I think what he's... Hold on a second.
I guess he's saying if somebody's highly respected, he'll get the nod.
I guess what he's telling us... Let me explain.
In other words, sure, I was in line. I was getting the nod. But the thing was, my jail time, in other words, it was time for me to go away, and I couldn't stop that at that point in time. So what happened was, it was Buddy Muss and another friend of ours who just came home recently, and it was him. Buddy Muss and this other kid were the ones. But otherwise, I would have been there with Buddy.
Tony, what do you think Tommy meant by that?
I think what he meant was if a guy on the border, not already a captain, because a captain already has got,
he's just highly.
I think what he's thinking is, like, let's say Craig was a captain and I was an
great
associate,
name to use,
and you were a guy in New Jersey, New York. If Craig gave you my name and he gave you a good recommendation, and Craig had a good reputation as a captain, would I have an advantage over somebody else because Craig was the captain and not Joe Schmo? You understand what I'm saying? A highly decorated captain.
But first of all, Sammy was the captain. He was upped. Sammy was upped at the time. This is around 2002, 2001, 2002. He was upped. So he's the one who they're going to ask, who do you have out there? Because we have the opportunity to make two fresh guys. We only allow 2. Who do you want?
Okay.
No, but what I'm saying,
Sammy's choice. The question, Tony. Look,
let me do it this way. I know how to do it. Watch. Let's say an associate was on the verge, and you want, let's say you're my captain,
A highly
and you
respected captain.
right, and you're a highly respected captain. If you gave the name to the guys in New York, I'd probably get the nod because you, as a highly respected
You were highly
captain,
respected.
brought me the
Yeah,
associate too.
no, it definitely would happen. But the thing was, the timing was off. That's all.
Correct.
The timing was off.
Correct.
Got you.
Correct. All right, so let's go like this now. They're saying the
You know
rumors
how
out there. Well, they
But
got
Tony,
rumor
you know
out.
how much money? You know how much money I made when I ran the
Oh,
labor
forget
union? Come on, I mean, like, of course everybody loved me because I was a money machine.
But you also were in you're also away at the time. Your jail time hurt you drastically. Let's not be foolish here. We're going to tell the truth. And at that time, everything started to get a little haywire up there when everybody was getting out. Is that correct?
No. Things weren't haywire as far as, in other words, there's always a replacement. When somebody goes away, there's always somebody to follow that person. At that time, there was only one guy at the time that was there. He's still alive now. But when my dad was away, Tony Proto was away, everybody was like, Sammy came home, was one of the first that got home earlier, before Tony Proto came home. So, but
right.
there's always somebody there to make sure that there's hands on to make sure that things are carried on.
Okay, so now John goes away, Sammy goes away, Frankie Loke goes away. Who did you guys go to in New York after that? Was it Jackie?
Oh no,
right
Jackie.
away?
No. We answered to Jackie all the time.
Okay, so now let's say somebody was being proposed at that time. You would have went to Jackie?
As far as that goes, it was up to Sammy then to bring me by the hand to wherever I had to go at that point.
It's in Sammy's hand, is what I'm trying to say. It's already in Sammy's hands. Sammy
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, that was the confusion that they're trying to ask. Everybody else was thinking that everything halted. Nothing halted actually at that time, but there was a whole change of administration in New York, obviously, for a long time. And it's hard to get to somebody under 23-hour lockup to get the nod. But when they were still in New York for the 2 years they were there before trial, it still went through the Metropolitan Correctional Center. I mean, there was a nod or not a nod.
Oh yeah, no, word gets sent there. In other words, no problem. No, that doesn't stop. The wheels of progress do not slow down. No.
Never.
No, business has to go on. And a lot of people thought business stopped for a while. Business did not stop. Maybe there was a couple of months getting everything orchestrated to who's going to be actually the street administration, because nobody was giving up nothing at that time from where they were.
But I was kind of surprised at that question because that guy should know. You know what I mean?
Well,
being in the game, he should know.
I think it was a miscommunication on my part.
No, it's not a miscommunication.
He knows.
I think what it meant was an associate's going to
definitely know.
You're trying to make an associate, okay? The associate's captain will bring the name to where it's got to go to.
Absolutely.
Okay, and he's absolutely right.
I'm not just some green associate.
Different position, Jimmy.
I wasn't such a green associate. Don't forget, right. I ran the labor union for them for 7 years. So I mean, I was the guy all there. They called me for everything. When Arnold was away, and it was in Allenwood up in Pennsylvania, where my father was housed. He told my father this thing. He says, "Listen, I want some kid to go get a job, for a labor. I got a couple of kids." So my father said, "All right, no problem." He says, "When my son comes up here to visit me, I'll give him the names." He goes, "Well, can you call somebody? Can you call him now?" My father says, "No." He says, "I'm not going to get on the phone and do this over the jailhouse phone." He goes, "It's going to open up a can of worms." So then it was like almost like an argument but then again, that was all straightened out. But this is how things work because, again, Jersey guys, always have to earn everything. They always have to be looked upon, and then they have to sometimes be reprimanded, even though it's not warranted, but sometimes it happens because you're from Jersey.
Yes.
No. Yeah. Now, how was the relationship with you guys in New York when you did have to, congregate and meet with each other? Did you get the
No.
same respect? Let me put it this way. Let's say Kibert and you and your dad went into the city. Did you get the same respect as a captain, let's say from Long Island, going down to Mulberry Street?
Well, not me personally. No, not personally. But
no, I'm talking about your bosses.
No. It's well established that they were treated with treated with royalty just like anybody else from New York was.
Absolutely.
Because again, at that point, we're all equal. Everybody's all equal. Not, let's say, me at the time. I wasn't straightened out or soon to be at the time. But because of my status, I was there. I was right in the mix of things.
Okay, so now your name, obviously, you don't have to go on and say it. We all know your reputation, and you were going to be there. If you didn't get that last bid, even though your dad was away, you would have been right there, correct?
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Right,
without a doubt. Oh, and another reason, Sammy wound up dying. Again, I told the story before. He had bad eyesight because they never did his cataract surgery when he needed it. And so he had a real problems literally seeing, through his eyes. And he was on the top floor in his condo in Patricia Village in Clifton. And what happened was he turned and he fell down a whole flight of steps and he had a brain hemorrhage. He wound up dying. That's another reason why things didn't pan out for me, because then everything was on hold as far as Jersey guys. And then what happened was then as far as the timing goes, then I happened to go away also. So that's why I had two bad strikes, which happened with me. So it's a shame, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise because let me tell you something. The next time I would get straight, I would have to, let's say, get in trouble for something. I would definitely get at least 30, 40 years. Easy.
Yeah,
so maybe it saved me. You know what I mean, Tom? Maybe it saved me.
Knock on wood. Now, let me ask you a question. If you guys ever got called and you had if you wanted to do business or you had a disagreement with the guys on Sullivan Street, would you have to go to your connection on Mulberry first? Or could you deal with them too and then go?
No. We go to our guy, and it goes on that level. It goes on that level. Now, if there's a discrepancy in the beef itself, where I would have to sit and talk to say my side, something specific, then I would be there. Otherwise, it's handled by the higher form of guards. It's brought up to a higher level at that point.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. The captains in Jersey, like Kibert, even guys like your father, you could go onto Sullivan Street, even though you were on the.
Oh, no! You're not allowed. You gotta check in first. You gotta check in first. You're not allowed just to go there and see another crew. You gotta check in first with your captain, with your gumbad, and find out if it's okay to go there and get the blessing to go there. Because something could go wrong, something could be misconstrued what was said while you're there, and before you know it, it could turn into a warlike atmosphere.
Okay, so like let's say Benny, without saying his full name, okay, calls out to Jersey. Did he want to see you? Did he call to Jersey or did he call to Mulberry Street first to call one of you in to talk to you about anything?
No, he would call Mulberry Street first, and then they would reach out.
All right. Now your father was around a long time and he had a great reputation. Okay.
Stella.
Who did they have the best working relationship with in your time and in your opinion with New York? During your lifetime, you had Carlo, you had John, you had Paul there. Who do you think they had the best working relationship with?
When you're saying who did they have the working relationship with? You're talking about Sullivan Street guys?
No. I'm talking about Mulberry Street. I'm sorry.
That was getting those guys, yeah.
Who do you think they had the best relationship with where they felt more comfortable with?
I'm kind of confused as far as.
If you were to think about it and you had to sit down with Paul or John, okay, who would you feel more comfortable sitting down with? Would it be Paul Castellano or John?
No, John. No, John. John was a hell of a man. He had charisma. He had charisma. You can't believe. That guy was born to be a boss. Born to be a boss.
Okay, so let me ask this.
Yeah, Jimmy, he was born.
Yeah, he was born to be a boss.
I was always around a lot of guys from the West Side in my neighborhood in Queens. Nobody ever said nothing bad about John, derogatory about John. Everything was highly respectful of John. You get these other idiots that you watch on this internet, and they always throw this bullshit out there. First of all, the tapes, I can't think of one captain that didn't get caught on tapes, one boss, okay, from that family. In your opinion, as a guy who was in John's presence, your father met with him quite often, you met with him quite often, what did you think of John as a leader?
Oh, let me tell you, he was so cool. Like, he could be sitting there, right? And there's other guys kibitzing and talking to each other. He would listen so well. He would call moments later. He would call a guy over and say, "Come here." He says, "What was that thing you were talking about? There was what is that? Is that something that you got going on? In other words, what do you invite me just to the funeral and not the wedding?" He was very in tune, very sharp, and a lot of times, if he didn't want you to hear, or if he didn't want to just acknowledge what you were saying, he would say, "Yeah." As he's talking, he'd lean over, and he would say, he whispered one time to me and Dad. He would say, he said, "I got a bad ear," but they don't realize that I can't hear well out of this one ear, and it was like a common joke. But he had a hell of a personality.
Tony, I got to say something. I'd like to say something.
Go ahead,
Jimmy, this goes back to what you said earlier. Tony, I know we spoke about this, but this is really just for, I don't know about Jersey, but I know we spoke about it. But I'm just going to set the scenario with the Bronx, and whoever knows already which family I was around and on record with, they know. But my point is this. You mentioned somebody's name to me on the phone today, and I said automatically, Senior. Anyway, his son, Junior, and it started with a D. They were, there was a different, basically what I'm getting to is, there was a different, I can tell you up in the Bronx, there, and this is going to sound crazy, you had the guys I was with in my house, maybe there was 2 social clubs on one block. Then you could go across the street, there'd be a Gambino social club. You went down the block, there was a Banano social club. No joke. This is mid to late 90s. You go down the street, there was a very small Colombo. They even had a little something going on up the Bronx. So everybody was spread out everywhere. A lot of people might not truly understand that. So yeah, it might just be a wave, or it might be you get close with somebody. But yes, your house comes first. But everybody was everywhere in your same neighborhood.
Well, Craig, I'll give you a prime example. Okay, you've been to where I'm from. You were always, you were around there. You know exactly where it is. We've been friends for years. Yeah. But we weren't but 100 yards away from another club from the West Side. Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
But we didn't even communicate with that club because here's what happened. There was like a split fraction. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, you had Bronx and Manhattan and Brooklyn and Queens with the West Side guys were kind of split, but then all came to the same point on Sullivan Street. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe you guys had 2 captains within 100 yards, 200 yards, the same street of each other, but they didn't always fly on the same page until they got to the main.
It was beef. Yeah, everybody had beef. Without a doubt, everybody shook hands, kissed, and everybody fucking badmouthed each other and had beefs left and right behind their back. Yeah. No doubt about it.
You would have to have a reason to go into that club. You can't just go from somebody else's club.
In general, I'm just letting people know, that everybody was everywhere. It wasn't like, Queens has this, Brooklyn has that. No, everybody got to take a little piece of everything. Yeah.
No, just so you guys know, I was schooled very well out of school on what to do, what not to do. It's a learned process. You have to be there. You have to. Like one time, my friend, when Michael Tessetta, when he was only home for a little while, he had told me that's when I was when I had the blackjack game for his brother Marty. I used to do blackjack games, and of course everybody would lose. But he would say to me, he said, "You've read the book, He says, you've seen the book, you've read the book, and I want to see if you live the book.
That's
So
right.
he would always say that, and he would say that to a lot of guys. That was one quote he would always say, which was really golden, to really. But it's a learned process. It takes years and years to really know what to do, what not to do.
When to
And believe
talk,
me,
when not to talk.
Well, I gotta
you
tell
don't
you too.
realize it. Let me tell you, you can get killed so fast. You have no idea how fast you can get killed.
Blink of
Telling
an
you.
eye. Blink of an eye. You don't even know it's coming. And that's why you hear a lot of these guys say it could be your best friend. No, that's bullshit. The other guy says, you don't know who's gonna take you out, And
I've said this before, Jimmy, Tony. I've said this. You guys know I've said this before, and some get it, some might not, and it's just the truth. Whoever's got the ear, or whoever's got the I almost said the juice. Whoever's got the ear, whoever's got the power, could be spitting in that guy's ear bullshit, lying, making up bullshit.
Sure.
And just because that guy's jealous of you for some reason, whatever it is, whether you're an earner, tough guy, good looking, whatever it is, maybe you are with somebody he wanted. They'll never make it about a woman, as you know. They can't make a beef about a broad. But that's who's got the juice. Whoever's got that guy's ear, and you wind up fucking gone because you didn't even know you had a problem. You didn't even know it.
I get what you're saying.
How many times that happened?
That has happened in the history.
For no reason. Because somebody bullshitted in somebody's ear.
Well,
That's
I got a question for you. In my eyes, there will never be a question of who was smarter, Gravano or John Gotti. Okay? But why do you think certain things fell through the cracks for a bit when Gravano was feeding him a line of shit? Did you think it was because John was such a hands-on boss that he met with every captain every week?
Not true.
Oh, hold on a second, Craig.
No, go ahead, Tom.
Or do you think?
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Chris. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, or do you think Gravano was just that much of a fucking snake? And I'm going to say it just like that he could lie and be that good at it to his own boss.
No, a lot of times, see, Sammy was very smart, though. He knew just what John wanted to hear. He knew how to grease him well. So there was a lot of things at play here, because when you got a guy, now, unfortunately, John liked to gamble. See, when they say once you're involved and you're straightened out, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do drugs or this. They should say you can't do gambling. You know how many guys would be saved if they did the thing of gambling, because that always gets them in trouble a lot of times.
Yeah, Sammy went in there with a lie almost every day. I mean, for the few years that they were in charge there, me personally, from what you heard from other guys watching that family from the outside, nobody wanted to do business with him and other families after a couple of years, because they were seeing that best of friends were disappearing, businesses were disappearing. Right. And if you looked at who he took out, there was always a dollar sign connected to it to cover his own ass all the way down the line.
Yeah, well, that's what John started finding that out about Sammy too late in the game. It was kind of too late when that happened, because John liked to gamble, and then John was able to pay his bets off because what Sammy was giving him every week. But then he realized that any bad decision, he would flavor it. Sammy would flavor it in a way where he would get the boss, he would get John, to nod him in a decision in his favor. And there the guy would have to go, But meanwhile, a lot of times the guy shouldn't have went, but then again, you can't change the past.
Is that Tony? Is that the perfect example of what I'm talking about? Whoever's got their boss's ear or somebody's ear, and you don't even know you got a beef, like Sammy. Perfect example. I get DB this, DB that, and boom, he's gone.
Forget about even the DB. Let's go to little Louis DeBono.
Yeah, Louis Melito, the whole bit. Nicky Cowboy, all of them.
All right, but Sammy had Nicky Cowboy in his own crew. Sammy didn't want Nicky Cowboy around for his own reasons back then. That was way before the regime took over to its full level. But DeBono had a strike against him going in because of the relationship he had with Castellano. So Sammy used every bit of those negatives that he had with Castellano, not with DeBono and Castellano, with himself and DeBono, to go. DeBono had no shot as soon as he got to the position he got.
Absolutely.
That was just a matter of time, and you hear that from a lot of people. Did you guys hear anything about the DeBono story with going on, and Sammy's dislike for him all along?
No, that's stuff that was on the New York side. Like we had our hands full with our own thing, with our own urns. Not to get off the subject for a minute, but I think didn't you have a question to ask me about Frankie Valli's daughter or something? You wanted to ask me?
Yes. It comes through. I get all of these comments, and again, I told you about the Tony Pro and the Buddy Musk and Rahway. Then I get, before we get to the, well, I'll get to the, somebody says there seems to be a confusion because he knew Frankie Valli's daughter as Tony Valli. Is there a chance he had another daughter or change a name or something?
No, don't. Tony.
No, sister. First of all,
I'm just saying,
I think
what
you're
the
trying
person
to
wrote to me, you know what I mean?
I think you're trying to say his sister. His sister's last name was not Valli. Go ahead, Jim.
No, Tony. You're talking to somebody who my father and mother were his best friends. He introduced my mom and dad. That's why they started dating. When he broke his leg on a motorcycle accident, Frankie,
right?
They went there to see him at the same time. He introduced my mom and dad to each other. Thus, they started dating. Thus, they got married. But when my father came out of jail in 1968, Frankie made us move into his house in Nutley. It was on 83 Friedland Road in Nutley, right off of Freeman Place, which is off of Center Street. And he had a two-family house. So we lived on the upstairs. And Seal, which was his older daughter, but was from another. She had a different father from his wife. And then you had Tony and Francine. Antonia, her name is. But I used to be with them every day. I'm like 12 years old or whatever, and like she liked me at first when we were growing up, and I would see her report card. A report card was from a Catholic grammar school. I believe it was in Nutley or somewhere close to it, right. And it was Antonia Castelluccio. That was her name. She changed her name.
That's it.
Castelluccio. She changed her name.
I was writing.
She changed her name to Valli later on in life after all of the famous acts, of Frankie and stuff like that. So she changed her name, but legally. But otherwise, her name was always Castelluccio. And Francine, we were together every day. I mean, come on. Her mother Mary, and Frankie. I remember we would sit down and. Oh God! It was like I would get all the records first that he would cut. It would be on a promotional label first from the Phillips label. He was under the Phillips label at the time, and I would be right there. What was that, Craig?
People keep asking if you could see the chat. I said that you usually read them later because you've told me you read the chats later when you go back and watch the video.
All right, let me read this question. Go ahead, read the somebody's asking.
Tone.
All right. Tommy Stiggs is saying in Roseville and 2nd Avenue in Newark, you had a New Jersey club and a Genovese. New Jersey club in New Jersey. You had a Genovese club and a Gambino club was 2 doors away. You had Morgan's club and Fuzzy's club right there next door to each other. Are you familiar with those?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Morgan and Fuzzy. But Fuzzy wasn't straightened out.
No, but what he's saying in the question here is both of their clubs were next door, 2 doors away from each other. You had Morgan's club and Fuzzy's club.
We always recognized Morgan's club because that was Cabert's club. But first, it was Tommy DeVingo's joint. Tommy DeVingo was Genovese. He had the club first, then Morgan took it over.
Gotcha.
And that's on Roseville Avenue. Right near City Stadium in Newark, right off Bloomfield Avenue. And then you had Pete Marola, who had the Finish Line. It was another restaurant that he had, but he was just around somebody. But Pete wasn't straightened out either.
No, it
But
was
yeah, I
Anthony.
used to be there all the time. You know.
Was it Anthony and Tommy? Who was straightened out? Anthony or Tommy DeVingo?
No, Anthony DeVingo. That's his name, Anthony DeVingo. And then you had Morgan. Morgan wasn't straightened out. We always called him Morgan. To this day, I forget. I know his name, but I can't think of his real name. He was real little. He wore a size 5 shoe. We called him the Penguin. We used to call him.
That was a man who wore a size 5?
Yeah, he was.
Wow. Tony, I gotta ask Jimmy something because I'll forget it because somebody said Ralph. Tony, somebody emailed me, comment, whatever. Did you have a relative? I think he was a straightened out guy. He might have been away with him. Ralph DeModica. Ralph DeModica. No relation. Like they asked me if I knew a Joe Gatto, not the comedian. They call him
I don't.
Eagle.
No name. Ralph. No, I would know. I would know right away. No, it's no relation to me.
Tony, you have anything you want to ask Jimmy before we call it a wrap? There's something I want to say about the card dealing, and then maybe Tony, you close it out.
Well, that was one of the comments I was going to make. I was just going to ask him. I mean, I was talking to my friend Anthony.
Go ahead.
Last Saturday night, and he says you were one of the top card dealers down there.
Oh yeah.
He said you were second to none, Jim.
Yeah. Well, it took me 40 years to be this good. But if you go on YouTube, you'll see under my name, James DeModica, you'll see Card Magic. And you'll see I have an 11-minute promotional video on there where I show my my prowess and my ability
Everybody has a talent, you know.
But you'll see. But in 1983, it was in Atlantic City when it was the Golden Nugget. I won $386,000. I won in 2 hours, and I was thrown out of Atlantic City for card counting. This was back in 1983. And for 20 some odd years, I would still try to go back. I wear mustaches, didn't matter. They would say, James, you're not here to play, are you?
Wow.
And they would throw me out. But then again, they added too many decks, Tony. Too many decks were there, Craig. Too many. In other words, the less number of decks you have as a card counter, the more you can do something with. Because when the when the count comes up high, whereas a lot of low number cards have been used, that means the 10s, they got to be inside the shoe. They can't be on the moon. They're ready to come out. So, correct. But when you have too many decks, like 8 decks, you're not going to get that much of a run of a good hand in a row. You're only going to get maybe 2, 3 hands, and then it's going to change again. So it doesn't matter. But back then, it was only 4 decks they used, and it was 1983. And I just had that pit boss, like I just kicked him between the legs, and he couldn't do nothing, man.
Well, we had a couple of card games, actually, where Craig lives in College Point for a while. I took Craig by the club a couple of weeks ago when I was there and showed him where it was. The money that comes in and out of card games, you don't even want to say because these people start saying you're full of shit. You want to give an example? Let's say you had blackjack and craps going. We had blackjack and craps going majority of the time on Wednesday nights. For one Wednesday night, I'm not even going to say my number. I know what it was, and it was a lot to me, but you were in much bigger and higher stake games. What would you bring in on one night of cards? And I'm talking about with the guys shooting.
Easy. Over 100,000, easy.
That was a crazy number, but yeah.
No, I seen so much money coming in and out. I didn't believe it when I first started working them, and then they allowed me to have my own card game with somebody. The money that comes in was, ridiculous.
When I would have the plunger, Tony, when I'd have the plunger on the table and put the cash in, at the end of the night, when we would pull out that box, I remember it was Marty's cousin said to me, he says, "We got a gold mine here, Jimmy." He says, you got to let somebody win, because we had broken down so much where the guy that would lug the players in to bring the fish there to sit down, we would give him 10%. And then I had to split the money with Marty and then split it with my father. So therefore, I'm only working with 20% at the end of the night. So I had to go for the jugular vein. Forget it. I would just smash him. No, nobody would win.
Now, another
Tony.
thing was, hold on a second, Craig. It was a double-ended night because you knew a lot of guys were coming to credit, and you always had somebody banging them out, and it ended up with a side loan. Now the guy loan shark and the giant.
Tony,
Explain
exactly.
that a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. They would come to us and then they'd say, listen, I want to keep gambling. Can I get 1,000 credit? We wouldn't give them money. What we do is we give it to them in chips. This way they would be forced to gamble. Now, this one guy, he kept going and going and going. And then what happened was he wound up losing like 40,000. And this was the night before Thanksgiving in 1990 at the Aspen Hotel. And at that point, the guy actually took a second mortgage on his house, but he paid us. But because he was going. But we would always give them the credit money in chips, never in cash.
No, that was it. And what people don't understand is they thought they were coming in there getting another loan. No, you weren't getting another loan. You were going to get chips.
Oh, Tony. Oh, no. Oh, good thing you brought that up. In other words, and then when the game would start the next week the game would start, the guy would say, listen, I know I owe you 2,000, but here's 1,000 because I want to use the other 1,000 to play. And then I blow him out again, and then he'd go out and play for more money.
Nah, there was some, hilarious stories in these things because everybody had a role going into that night,
Sure.
And when they finally came up, they were like, you guys are stupid. They would tell us the first time we did it. You're not going to give them cash. You're going to give them chips to play with. And once we learned how to get that, the money that came in was astronomical. And then by the end,
Jimmy.
then you divvy up by the end of the night and what you owe in interest. And now you got a loan on top of that sometimes. I mean, you're making money
Tony.
all around that night.
Tony,
that's right,
Tony, this is going to play to your world. Jimmy, you're going to love this. There was a club directly. I wasn't involved with it. It was totally different, but it was family, so I would be around it. But I was not involved in any way in that game. Nothing to do with it outside of hello, goodbye, saying hello to some people, and that was it. I was young. I was in my 20s. But it was a huge game. Huge. Tony, see if you can remember. It was in Flushing. It was right next to, Jimmy, you'll get a kick out of this. It was right next to the Social Security Administration office and right half a block away in the biggest part, Flushing Main Street, they call it, that area, and right down the block from the 109th precinct. It was a huge game, huge. And the reason why I say it is because it goes to the neighborhood that you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they had.
I'm telling you, Tony, they must have 15 tables working every night. Gave out everything: food, cigarettes, liquor, you name it. They ran it. They did it.
Oh yeah, that's all part of the show. You give them all the best liquor. You tell them whatever they want to eat because they're paying plenty for it. Believe me.
It's just where it was. People would be baffled. Tom.
I'll tell you something. What really jumped it, and being in Flushing, in that area, Corona, Flushing, Whitestone. But hold on here. I don't know if you guys had the same thing in Jersey. Once we got infiltrated with the Asians, okay, the money came in even higher. Where they were making more money with the Asians than they were ever making with anybody else before.
Asians are crazy. They're crazy gamblers. Forget it. They're just like the Greeks. They're crazy.
Now, the Greeks were mostly located in Astoria for us, but we were in the Flushing area with our stuff, and we got
infiltrated. They were in Astoria? Greeks in Astoria?
Oh, Greeks in Astoria, come on, man. But
Tony,
look at
one of the comments somebody wrote about that card game.
Hold on a second. Let me see what it says.
I just finished saying it was the family's game. He was young. He used to sometimes not supposed to be there.
Yeah,
crazy.
My nephew said his grandmother.
It just was crazy because Jimmy, you wouldn't. I mean, I learned later, of course, but you would never think in between or where it was, the biggest fucking game in Queens was going on in between the police station, Social Security, fucking food stamp, and they had it all taken care of, and it was all West Side guys
Yeah.
had it under control.
It's great, isn't it?
All right.
It's
I
great.
gotta ask this.
You know, everybody says the stupidest guys in the world. They can run Fortune 500 companies. These guys.
I want to ask this question because Tommy's always been loyal to the show, and we're loyal to him.
Go
He's
ahead.
got a question. Hold on a second. He's got a question here. Anthony DeVingo
Tommy's
was.
got a question for you. Tony's going to get it for you.
All right, Craig, hold on. Anthony DeVingo was a hothead. He died of a heart attack. Fuzzy couldn't get straightened out because they pinched him skimming the street number proceeds. They
Couldn't
gave
get
him a
straightened
pad.
out.
That's what
What's
the
he
question
talking
said.
about?
I don't know.
Anthony DeVingo couldn't get straightened out. What's the matter with it?
No. That's not the question. Anthony DeVingo was a hothead. He died of a heart attack. Fuzzy couldn't get straightened out because they pinched him skimming the street number proceeds.
Yeah, of course.
They gave him a pass.
Steal the money.
They gave him a pass, but they didn't whack him out, but he didn't get made.
No.
I'm talking about Fuzzy.
But Fuzzy was a gambler. Fuzzy was just a gambler. His girlfriend one time, I used to meet him in Atlantic City. He used to put up the money for me. He used to put up the money for me to play for him. Before I made that big score in Atlantic City, the 386,000, one night we were there and we happened to just meet by accident. And he was there and he says, "Here, Jimmy," he says, here's 2,000. See what you can do with this. I wound up winning 68,000. So at that point, Fuzzy loved me. Every weekend he wanted to come down. And so he would get all excited. He goes, "Jimmy boy." He had this kind of funny voice. He would say, he hit me on the back. And he'd say, because all the black chips were $100 chips. So when she's paying me off, like I knew when let's say a good hand would come out, and then bang, I get blackjack and ever. He goes, "Jimmy boy," he would say, and then he'd say, "What's the matter? You don't have any more blacks in here?" He goes, "Ooh, I didn't mean it that way," he would say. But Fuzzy, he was just a gambler. But yes, he probably, to answer Tommy's question, he probably did skim some money because Fuzzy was a conniver. He was a conniver. He'll try to make money whatever he can. He'll take a shot at you if he can get away with it. If you put a bet in, he may not pay you because if he knew you didn't have anybody to run to, then he would not pay you. Yeah, I believe that's very possible. Yes, to answer the question, yes.
All right. Is there any other question? Because Jimmy's been gracious with his time tonight, guys. You've been gracious.
That was awesome, Jimmy. Want to save a little bit for the next one?
We're gonna save a little. We'll save a little bit for next week.
It's time for me to get my Italian on in my belly. I gotta eat.
Go ahead, my brother. I love you.
I want to thank you very much. I'll talk to you tomorrow or the next day, and we'll see what we're going to talk about and give these people what they want. And everybody, write your questions into the comments so we know what to give you to show you respect and how to, put the questions out right to show Jimmy respect and everybody else on the panel. But I'd like to talk about some more of the card games because I knew a couple of guys who knew you. I found out last week.
Absolutely.
They're all deceased.
Absolutely.
So we can get into it a little bit, including
We'll
Jack.
get into that next time.
Jimmy, I love you, bud.
Thank you so much for spending a Friday night with us, and God bless.
I love you. I love you, Craig. I love you, Tony. Take care of yourselves. Good to see you.
Looking forward to seeing you when I get up next week too, Jim.
Okay.
We're coming out to Jersey on location. Later, bud. Love you.
Be there. All
You're
right,
in the house,
guys.
Tony. We want everybody to stay in the house because we're going to transition. We'll talk a little bit more about this if you want, and we're transitioning right into the next one.
That was great. I mean, we had a great show.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Jimmy,
if anybody's got anything they want to say, you could comment now. Or I just want to ask, Jimmy's gone. I wanted to answer this for Chris Gorky, who's going to join us in a little while. Tony, if you don't mind me, I'm going to just answer this. I'm looking for his comment. Basically, he was saying something about that he didn't realize the Gambinos had a strong presence or any presence basically up in the Bronx. I'll only say this the way I said it before.
Oh, forget it.
I can tell you this. Frankie Loke had one of the biggest clubs whose club then wound up going to his son, Torrey. in the Bronx, right off Arthur Avenue. And as you know, we've had this conversation. I won't get into it with all the. And then right across the street from there was, a West Side guy, Patsy Perillo, who had that, huge restaurant, whatnot. And then you had Luke Kate. It just, everybody was everywhere. But yes, the Gambinos had a huge presence up there. One of the biggest guys.
Sure. What a lot of people aren't realizing is, let me get this off here. A lot of people don't realize is that Frankie Luke had one of the toughest crews coming out of the Bronx, and that's what got him the position he got.
Besides Italians, what did he have around him, Tony?
Oh, tons of Albanians. Albanians everywhere.
And how ruthless were they?
He had one of the most vicious crews around.
Okay? Absolutely.
And that's end of the day, Frankie Luke didn't get there for no reason. Frankie Luke had a reason to get there. He did a lot of things, okay? I wasn't privy to know them, but Frankie Luke was one of the toughest guys on the street with his crew.
I mean,
he didn't even have a the guy who drove him.
But
the guy who drove him around was the guy who drove him around wasn't Italian either for them.
No, Albanian, right?
Albanian.
Yep.
So, Gambino's had a very tough crew come out of there, very lucrative crew. Frankie Luke made lots of money up in the Bronx. And then it continued somewhat, I guess, with his son. I don't know. I'm out of there. All right, so let's go on. Craig, where do you want to go from here? Any questions?
I think, if anybody's got anything they want to say, so then we could close this out. I hope we don't lose any of our women that really listen to us, get into the playoff football stuff. And I know maybe it's not as exciting to them, but they stick it out and they seem to like us with the back and forth. So we'd like everybody to stay around. If you want to give this another 5 minutes, it's up to you.
I'll tell you something else we're going to get into with Jimmy down the road is we're going to get into women involvement. And, there was a lot of women involvement in New York and New Jersey, not sitting down at tables, doing discussions and sit downs. But there are a lot of women behind the scenes who had big parts behind their men. And we're going to get into that down the road.
I could tell you about a lot of women treachery that nearly got guys fucking killed. But, I'm sure you're saying, whatever you're saying, I know is fact. I saw a lot of the other side of it, the treachery shit.
I'll give you an example that we were talking about. Everybody was married, and a lot of these big guys back in the day had, side pieces, whatever you want to say. And the smart guys had smart women by their side. The dummies had dummies by their side. And we got a couple of stories about that we're going to go over with Jimmy, and I'm not going to ruin it by saying any more.
Absolutely. Leave it for next time. Okay. Let's Cinnamon Girl, if you're still out there, if you could drop Chris Gorky a link. We want to have Chris come on, right? We're going to talk a little playoff football here. Now watch all our guys. The guys that don't like football, we understand.
I think Tommy, hold on a second. I think Tommy's reading my mind because we have two of them here, and I knew three of them up in Jersey that I was introduced to. Some of the best bookmakers were women, a couple of them.
Yeah.
And that's going to be going to be one of the topics, Tommy, that we're going to get into. And if you want to join that night, be my guest.
A lot of people probably won't get this either. It has nothing to do with that life, but I found out later on a lot of women were some of your biggest drug dealers up in the Bronx, and I'm not talking little. I'm talking big.
Well, I know this in Queens, they weren't into the drug dealing, but they had
that part of it,
They had a lot of things with the card games. Women's presence was a necessity.
Yeah.
Mikey, thank you so much. I didn't even get to say hello to everybody because I was running around.
Now's a good time. You get caught up and you don't get to shout out your crew and your people. I try to wave or whatever. I hope they know I'm talking to them. It's hard.
All right, so let me say hello to everybody. We got Mike, we got Tommy Stiggs, we got Cinnamon Girl, you got Detroit Stiggy, new to the show. Welcome. Don't know you. Dex Dallas is here. He's a regular. How you doing, buddy? Of course, Cinnamon's there. Gianni, always nice to see you, Gianni. I hope the bocce went well today. Stacy A is here. Dave T, Chris Gorky. I've seen a few more on tops. And Dave T. I don't know who this is. Guy Duca. Mikey's always there. I said Mikey first.
Tits McGee.
That was going to be my last guy, but my nephew Antonio was here. And that's about it. So, thank you guys all for participating in that segment.
Everybody, yeah, definitely. This is awesome, man. Just to shoot the breeze. Great
Tommy's saying a wrench can't drop the StreamYard link, Craig. You have to email it to him or send it to him.
Wait, he should be a wrench.
No. He needs a link to get on the show.
All right, so
you have to give him the link.
Can Cinnamon Girl drop a link for him?
She can't drop a link.
For this show. All right, tell Tommy I'm going to email it to him.
No. It's not Tommy. It's Chris Gorky.
Chris
Do you
Gorky?
have his email?
All right, I'm going to get Chris right now.
All right,
tell
get Chris on there.
Do me a favor, Tony. Just email me Chris's because you know me, I can't chew gum and walk. Email me, text me Chris's email address.
I don't have it.
I got it in comments somewhere. I got to go through 1,000 of them.
All right, you go through it. You go through the email. You go through that.
All right, you hold this down. Let me go through it.
All right, so here's what we got coming up this week. We got Cleveland and Houston in an AFC champ. We're going to go to the AFC, then we're going to go over to the NFC. All right, we got Cleveland is -2 at Houston. Now, the reason that you got Cleveland on the road is because Houston won their division. So that's the first game we're going to talk about. Then we got Miami is the Sunday game, actually, and they're getting 4.5, which I find very odd here on this one website that I do play around with sometimes. Miami's 4.5, getting 4.5. But how's this? This website's so crazy. They're the only one, and that's why I picked this one out, and I'll go through the other ones too. Kansas City's only -4. So that's the strange thing. This one uses different numbers for each team. All right. Then you got Pittsburgh is +10. I'm not going to go with that because it's crazy there. And you got Buffalo -9.5. I mean, this is a sucker's website if I ever seen one. So let's go to where it is right now. You got the Steelers are getting anywhere from 9.5 to 10, and Buffalo's -9.5 to 10. You got Green Bay getting 7 at Dallas, and Dallas has got to win by more than a touchdown. It doesn't mean because you get a touchdown you win. That's a push only. All right. Then we got the Rams going into Detroit over in the NFC also, and Detroit is -3. Then we have Philadelphia -3 on the road at Tampa Bay. So we're going to go through this when Chris Gorky gets up there. But once again, I got to thank everybody for the participation that was here tonight. You guys are great. We're retarded with computers, Matt. No, I don't like to say that. I understand the word you're using there, but I don't say that word. Showtime Jack is in. How you doing, buddy? All right. So, basically, we're going to talk football. We're going to wait for him to get up here. I hope everybody enjoyed that segment that we had. We're going to make that a weekly segment, and we should have a lot of fun and bring back a lot of memories every week and go from there with that. I mean, we have a great time in conversations with Jimmy, and we're also going to ask a lot of questions from guys that live in Jersey that know more than I would know about New Jersey because I was always from Queens, So I knew the little involvement we had with guys from Jersey, which wasn't so little. We spoke to them a lot. But that's for experts who are higher up to know that stuff. But I will say this, a lot of guys, we were talking about card games this week. Wow, Jimmy was a fanatic with these card games, and he was around a lot of degenerate gamblers, and he'll speak more about that. I believe Tommy Stig knows a lot about that, too. Tommy was around a lot of those guys that did a lot of degenerate gambling over there as well.
Chris Gorky, pick up that link and jump on in.
Okay, so, once we get Chris up here, JJ Fedora, how you doing, sweetie? Nice to see you. There was TT Rad was looking for you, too, the other night. It's always good to have you in the chat. Thank you so much.
All right, coming to the stage, my man, Chris Gorky. What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up? Can you guys hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, Chris.
Tony, I never know with this thing.
Welcome aboard, my friend. Before we get into this, Tony, your boy Chris is here, my man.
Chris, my man, how are you? Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hanging in there, trying to put my numbers together for this weekend and see where I go from there. And then we're going to go. It's always another thing with these damn playoffs, right?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
All right. So let me get the board back up over here and we go from there. All right. We got the Browns and Texans. Forget about the lines right now. Tell me what you like in that game.
I like the Browns. I think I love CJ Stroud. So, when the Browns beat him the first time, Stroud didn't play. But I think Joe Flacco is really connecting with Amari Cooper. The Texans have a bunch of starters out on D. They got their 2 starting DNs out, a couple other starters. Browns have the number 1 defense in yards allowed. Texans are like 23rd versus the pass. 6th versus the run. I just think the Browns are playing pretty good. They got a really good defense, and even though I really like C.J. Stroud, I just think, his first time around that the Browns D might be a little too tough for him. And with the Texans defensive players out, I'm going Browns.
All right, what line do you got over there? And then
I got
I'm going to
2.
explain. You got 2.
I got the Browns given 2.
Okay, so here's my only problem with taking the Browns. All right, I like the Browns. I like the Browns a lot. If it gets into a shootout, Stroud's a lot younger, obviously, and I got to be honest, I haven't seen Amari Cooper do enough in a big game yet to be solidified on it. The other thing is the Texans are playing, so are the Browns, but the Texans are playing with house money. Nobody expected the Texans to be here this quick with this kid. You know,
that's true, man. That's true.
For a guy to have that kind of expenditure and just be able to start throwing balls around, and if you win, you win, and that's great. And if you lose, you lose. We weren't supposed to be here anyway. Even though the Browns weren't there, the Browns have been trying to get at it for a number of years now.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm going to say I'm going to stick with the Browns, but I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if the Texans win this game either, because, I mean, it's a hard game to bet knowing that this kid's playing with house money. Chris,
they're all hard. It's at the end. There's so much parity in the NFL. It's not like a college line where a line could be 14 and the team that's given the 14 could win by 35. You know what I mean? It's a lot of parity in the NFL.
I get it. All right, here's the lines right this moment from Vegas. You got Houston -2.5. Wait a minute. Okay, Houston +2. And the Browns are -2. So obviously, I'm going to stay with the Browns because I think they can win the game by a field goal.
Chris, what do you got?
I got the Browns.
All right, I'm going to go. It's hard to go against them. I'm going to go Cleveland.
All right, so we all got Cleveland in that game. Let's go to the next.
If anybody wants to put in the chat who they like, go right ahead. But the panel says Browns. Go next, Tate.
All right, next we got Miami and Kansas City. Obviously, Miami started off smoking hot. Kansas City has had little struggles, if you follow football, all year with certain things.
Yep.
I don't like the 4.5 line because I don't think Kansas City at this point is running on all cylinders as much as Buffalo was last week. And Buffalo had a hard time. If it wasn't for a couple of fluke plays, Buffalo didn't win that game either last week. The touchdown was a deflected pass in the end zone, and then you had the special teams touchdown. So Allen didn't put up as many points as people are saying, well, Allen's a beast. He put up this, he put up that. So I am going to say I'm either going to stay away from it or I'm going to – money line, I'm going to go with Kansas City. All right, just because they're home. That's what gave me my decision there. And it's going to be ice cold there.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
Chris, I'm hearing, Tony, and I'm going to let you guys – I'm not going to say nothing to the end. I just want to say this. I'll give it to you, Chris. I'm hearing like record-breaking, 35 below, this, that, and the other thing. Go. It's all yours, bud. That's all I want.
It's going to be cold, man. I looked at the weather report, and I think I saw like 5 degrees and stuff. I don't know if it's going to be 30 below, but it's going to be freezing. So the Dolphins have 10 straight losses in cold weather games. So, it's hard to say because the weather factors in so much.
Yeah.
You like to roll Chiefs, but Chiefs, their receivers besides Kelsey can't catch the ball. I've never seen so many drop passes by a team in my life.
All right, let me give it to you right now. You got 7 degrees right now. Game time tomorrow night should be -9.
All right.
Yeah, and then you got the wind factor in, maybe some rain or freezing rain. Or whatever.
So what does that tell you, Tone? What does it tell you?
It tells me not to bet the Dolphins. I got to be honest with you.
All right,
you know what? Losing that game last week probably puts them home in the first week instead of going 2 weeks and stay at least for 3 weeks.
Brass tacks. Tony, who do you like? Kansas City, Miami?
I'm going with the Chiefs.
Chris?
I got to go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs got the number 2 defense. They got the number 2 scoring defense, number 2 defense yards allowed. If they can't throw the ball much because of the rain and the wind, the tougher defensive team, the better defensive team is what I'm going to go with. So I got to go to the Chiefs too.
The other thing I like in that, they have a game changer on defense. Okay, and that guy can make life miserable for the running back coming out and the quarterback that Miami likes to use. So I like Chiefs all day tomorrow.
Let me say one thing. Here's an interesting stat. Tua throws for a shitload of yards every game for the most part, right?
Yes.
Guess what his under-over, his player prop bet for under-over pass yards is in this game?
What is
I'm going to guess and say 245.
The 225 yards on the one I got. So for that to be that low, that shows how much they're factoring in the weather.
All right. When you're ready, I'll give you my pick.
Well, hold on. Wait. I want to ask a question. Which Mahomes is under and over for the game?
Let me check right now. I go on different sites like DraftKings, and they're a little different, but
you're all go too, Chris.
Mahomes is 245. You can do two bets with Mahomes, 245 or 249. 249, you take the over, you win a little more, obviously. Over 249 is at minus 105. Over 245 yards is at minus 115.
I'm going to have to look it over there. That's something I really want to see the weather tomorrow because they said there's a possibility of snow. If there's snow, I'm going to go under.
All right, Tone.
Go ahead. You shoot.
Who do you like? Who do you like?
Kansas. I said I like Kansas City.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm going Chiefs.
I'm going to go Kansas City as well, strictly due to the weather situation and outdoors and that whole bit. Kansas City.
Now, let me ask this. Going with the line. Chris, what do you got? 4.5. Chiefs are favored by 4.5 on this one.
Yeah, I got 4.5 on mine.
You still good with the line?
With the line, man. I would probably, I don't mind buying a point, like a half a point here or there. I might drop it down to 3 and take the Chiefs just to be safe.
I was just going to say, I'm going to buy the 1.5 and I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I don't gamble. Full disclosure, I was a lifelong loser. That's why I don't gamble. I knew everything about the game and couldn't pick a fucking game. So, that being said, if I
money line, I'm going with Kansas City straight.
I would bet Kansas City strictly based off of I think points are going to be hard to come by, and I think turnovers will play a part there with some gimmies. I would take Kansas City laying the wood. That's just me. But I like Kansas City to win the game. What do you got next?
Let's move on to Pittsburgh Steelers and Buffalo Bills. But this game, the line is big. If you're gambling straight out, it's a different story. The line on this right now is 9.5.
Good point.
All right, so let's go by the line first, Chris. I would have to say at 9.5, I would find a way to tease this game with something.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be right around 10.
Parlays are tough, man. I don't, even with the tease, I stay away from it. But what's interesting about this game, the over-under is only 33. Did you see
that? I like the Steelers with the 9.5 is what I'm trying to say. I'd like it.
Oh, you're 10. Going that teasing it up. Okay, I see. I didn't know. I don't know. It's tough. And here's I know you guys don't do player props so much.
No, whatever.
All right, so Josh Allen's over-unders just for pass yards is 199 yards, which is very low for him because they're supposed to have 15-mile-an-hour winds. So that might be a ground and pound type of game, which should favor the Steelers. Yeah. And the other thing is Josh Allen threw an interception in every single game this year, except for 1 or 2 games. You could get a pretty straight up bet of minus 110 for Josh Allen to throw 1 interception.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. I think the Josh Allen interception is going to get a lot of action tomorrow.
But the reason that's so low is because they're maybe not expecting a lot of pass attempts. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem, Chris. I got a feeling we're gonna have some bad weather over there. I'm actually bringing up the weather right now. I want to see.
Oh yeah,
I think they're telling people don't travel. It's crazy.
I don't think it's supposed to be really cold, but it's supposed to be
No, I think just heavy snow. Heavy snow.
All right, you got 80% chance of snow and 28 to 44 degrees. Game time 29 to 33 degrees.
And the wind is supposed to be pretty rough, right?
Look, and it's also teams.
Wait a minute. But let's go like this. It's supposed to snow. Okay, hold on a second. You're supposed to get snow Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, both days.
That's a problem. I'm going to go with a lot of under things in this game, and I don't like that 9.5 point spread.
Okay.
I think it's too much for the weather.
Well, you can if you want to tease it, then you tease the Steelers up, and you tease the if you want to go under, tease the total up and take Steelers in the under.
That's what I'm thinking. All right, so if I had to go money line, let's talk money line straight.
Right,
I'm gonna take Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Craig, you got?
I mean, money line, you got to go Buffalo.
Money
What
line.
you got, Craig?
If I had, obviously we've made full disclaimer, but if I'm going money line, gun to my head, not a fanboy, I'm gonna go Buffalo.
All right, so we are now going to Green Bay and Dallas. +7, games indoors. Packers are getting 7. Dallas is obviously giving 7. I find that line for some reason to be a little low for Dallas to only be given 7. I was going to say 7.5, 8, 8.5. 7 is a trick. You can bring that down to 6 very easy, and you can pound Dallas. But Chris, why do you think the line is only at 7 in Dallas? Primetime game too.
Two reasons. The Packers have been playing really, really well lately. That quarterback halfway through the year was going to get benched, and then he went on a tear. Like, I don't know every game, but he's been playing really well. And then I don't remember, maybe there's some stigma with the Cowboys only winning 4 playoff games since their last Super Bowl win. But the Packers I think are a little better than people think. But I'm still going like Cowboys. Cowboys money line.
I also think a lot of people are banking on the fact that Dallas kind of backed their ass into first place by Philly kind of junking it.
Yeah,
the last half of the season. Voted. So you know what? I got to tell you, to be honest, I don't think the kid for Green Bay is ready to lead his team to a victory yet in the playoffs. I'm going to go with Dallas.
Yeah, home team experience. I'd go Dallas.
Craig, what do you got? Green Bay, Dallas.
I always love to throw one apple card, and if I would have did it with the Steelers, I would have been told, you know why I said it, so I didn't do it. But I'm going to do it, just not here. I'll go with Dallas. All
right, so we're all with Dallas. All right, here's the trick game, and I'll explain my reasoning.
It is. This is a little. I think the Green Bay game is going to be a little tougher than people think.
I think so too, but I didn't say I was going to go with -7.
That's it, Dallas.
All right, LA Rams at the Detroit Lions. The line has been consistent all week at -3 for the Lions. Chris, you go first. I want to go last on this one.
I love the Lions at home. I've loved the Lions all year. They got one of the best overall teams. They got a great offensive line. Jared Goff's playing better than he ever has. Love Jahmyr Gibbs. He's a home run hitter. Montgomery's good. I gotta go Lions.
Craig, you want to go?
I love the Lions. Love them.
I'm going to take the Rams, and I'm going to explain.
And I tell you, listen, I get it. I'm
going to explain why.
McVay's got them playing. They're phenomenal. I just love Campbell, and I love the Lions. Maybe I'm picking them for the wrong reasons. I
give it like this. At some point, you had to say we're not catching the team in first place. That was evident, all right? Agreed. Second, you got Stafford going back to a team that gave up on him, didn't want him no more, and he didn't want to be there.
Absolutely. There's a lot of factors. Definitely.
You also got Jared Goff over there.
Thank you, Michael.
Who McVay knows backwards and forwards, and that was the reason he got rid of him. That's why I'm going with the Rams. And I don't think it's an upset. I just think the Rams had a bad year. They're only a couple of years away.
Played. Right, Chris?
They're only a couple of years removed from being a Super Bowl team.
Well, that's what's funny is for how well they played that year in the Super Bowl that they kind of – and they were never – it seemed like after that Super Bowl win the next few years, they were never totally healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, always banged up. This year was supposed to be rebuild mode.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams pulled it off because, they still got a lot of, good players. I mean, Stafford's over for pass yards is 274, which is more than what Goff's is. They got Cooper Kupp. They got that other receiver. I don't even know who the hell the guy was.
Haku, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, Haku.
Yeah, kid from BYU.
You still got Aaron Donald. Like if they're healthy, they can do some stuff. But I really like the Lions all year.
Yeah, I'm going.
I'd like to see the Lions. I'd like to see the Lions.
Detroit,
I just think the Rams and McVay got something to prove. You know, people were talking about a Super Bowl coach getting fired at the end of last year.
Just remember, Tony, Dan Campbell's going to bite your kneecaps off. And then when he's done with that kneecap, he's going to bite your other kneecap off. And when we're done with both those kneecaps, we're going to drag you by your hair. How could you not love this guy? Let's go,
Lions. How can I not love him? Because what he did in Dallas was one of the ball-headed moves I've ever seen. All right.
Next game.
Here's another one. Philadelphia -3 at Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. Chris, be my guest.
All right, I'm a big Eagle fan, and I hate to do it, but I have zero trust with the Eagles. I am after what I saw the last 2 weeks, following the locker room reports. That team is a mess. There's animosity going on. I can't trust the Eagles defense. AJ Brown is so far not playing. He's probably not going to play. I gotta go. I gotta go Bucks. I can't trust that Eagles defense.
Craig.
All right, I'll go. I was going to pretty much say a lot of things that Chris said, so I'll just get right to it. I'll just say one thing to add to that. This team has gotten so dysfunctional in the last 5 weeks. Football probably like a lot of most other sports, you just can't flip that switch on, I don't believe. I'm going to take Tampa Bay, who I don't like at all.
Wait a minute. I gotta say something here. And Chris, I didn't bring it up before. Is this a Monday night game?
Yes, it is.
I believe so.
In Tampa.
So it's also a weekday game, so you might not have as many people from Philly traveling for this game.
Yeah. I think there's problems with Sirianni, too. There's some issues with him and the staff.
Well,
there's a lot of shit going on there.
AJ Brown, there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors. AJ Brown just wiped away his whole Twitter feed.
Listen, I know it's a wild card pick. I'm taking Tampa, though. I'm taking Tampa.
All right. I'm going to go with Tampa, but I'm going to tell you where the pressure lies here for me. I think the coach is gone in Philly if he blows this.
So they say.
I think he's. I think he's done.
Lost the team, lost a lot.
They don't know how to fix this.
Yeah, that's the main issue. How do you fix it?
It would have been fixed by now. If this game was being played halfway through the year or like 5 games in, Eagles would be favored by 10 points, even at Tampa.
This game wouldn't be happening. I'm going to say something right now. If I'm Philly, I'm happy to be away from home and not be playing the Packers right now. Because I wouldn't trust them at all with the Packers. So let me lead into this conversation real quick. If Philly loses this game, now let me finish this, okay? Right. And because they have the components and they're that close and they proved it the whole beginning of the year, let's say they fire the coach. If I'm Bill Belichick, you wouldn't want to walk into there for 2 years?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, nobody's mentioning it, and I watched the sports show today. And that one guy said, he goes, everybody's forgetting. The Eagles might have blew first place, might have blew the season, had a lot of breakdowns at the end of last year. What says Belichick doesn't go in there and takes a team that was to the Super Bowl a year ago and pull pretty much a Brady, and have a whole thing made to get to a Super Bowl?
I'm going to let you go. Then I have something I want to say on that.
Yeah. Anybody that could fix a team that needs stability, you would think Belichick would be the guy. He just didn't have talent. He just ran out of talent in New England. But the talent's there in Philly.
I only have one question. There's no question he's the guy to fix it. Here's my question. Does Laurie Give and Howie Roseman and Bill Belichick, is he prepared not to be totally 100% in charge of every football decision made?
To win a championship,
their dynamic is GM to coach, right or wrong.
Hold on a second, man.
I'm just bringing up a point.
Okay, but after you spend the money you spent, okay, a lot of guys will say, "Fuck it, I want a championship," and that's the end of the game. I say yes, he is willing to give it up.
Yeah, maybe at this point he is. I just know the dynamic of what he likes to do.
I'll tell you the difference. Jerry Jones was smart enough to do it in the beginning. and then take control of his team after he won a few.
Right.
All right.
If you're going to do it, now's the time. I agree.
If I'm this guy, I say, fuck it. I want something back for what I paid for the team,
Absolutely.
for what I paid out in contracts. I think he does it just to win.
Right. And as you can see, the Commanders, no, Patriots hired their coach, but watch Arthur Blank giving this guy a blank check, no pun intended, to run the whole organization. Just be careful of that, because I think Philly could it's a good spot there. Great spot.
I don't think Jeffrey Lurie loves Howie Roseman like an adopted,
like a son.
And I don't think Howie would ever. I think Howie has too much of an ego, and I think Lurie would leave it up to Howie what he wants to do. And I don't think Howie would never give up full control. I think they did that one year with Chip Kelly, and it blew up on him.
Yeah.
Forget it. It blew up.
Yeah, so I don't see him doing it again, even though it's Belichick. I mean, it would probably be a little like mutual respect type of thing. Like, yeah, you could have some say, but at the end of the day, I'm still the main guy. Yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting though.
Well, we're gonna say we'll stay glued to the TV over the next week or so. Tone, is that it for the lineup this week, or we got that's it. It's Monday night.
That's it, man. But let me ask you a question. A lot of people are talking about Belichick going to Atlanta. I can't see him going there at this age.
I'm just telling you, I wouldn't.
But he's also what, 74, 75?
I think Philly's a great fit. It's everything he wants in a roster. And for those that say he's got the quarterback in place, I don't think that, honestly, this is just me, opinion. That wouldn't stop me, and I don't think that'll stop Belichick either. And he's got the guy in Hurts. And even if it's not Hurts, he'll get the guy he wants. That don't matter to him. What I'm saying is that's not going to stop him. He's going to build it his way anyway, whether they're ready next year or it's 2 years from now. So I don't think that.
Here's what I don't like. Here's what I don't like. But here's what I didn't like. I'm going to tell you what I didn't like in Philly. They were still running that quarterback sneak when there were some games that shouldn't have been ran. You have to learn to protect your components as well. They to me, I never seen Jalen Hurts get protected by the coaching staff this year.
Good point.
This coaching staff was a mess. I don't know how it got so bad. The play calling, it was really bad. Like they had such a fall from grace. Their linebackers absolutely suck. Their corners went from some of the top corners in the league to just bad this year. They had like, what was it, like 4 or 5 guys that had double-digit sacks last year. They lost one D line, brought in Jalen Carter, and it's basically the same D line, and they can't get any pressure. So
I'm just very down on Philadelphia. I mean, I don't see where Philly go. I tell you what, they're not going to last past a week if they do win.
No, they're too broken. And a friend of mine was a big Eagle fan. Listen, if you can't get pressure with your front four, you have to.
And they have the front to do it.
But they're not. That's the thing. They're not getting pressure. And if you can't get pressure at your front four, I don't care who the quarterback is, you can't give them all that time. You got to send people. And Matt Patricia doesn't like the blitz. He never really did, from what people tell me. So I just don't see the defense being fixed. The offense could get quick.
You just give another reason why not to bring Belichick there. Who do you think is going to make the defensive coordinator?
Oh, yeah, Belichick would be great for the defense.
Wait a minute. I think you're wrong. I think he brings his own son with him.
That's very possible.
Gives him the job by title, but not the full job.
I love Belichick. I think he's probably the guy for that job. I'm not crazy about Patricia. I think he was better. Make it believe he was Belichick with the pencil in his ear. I don't know if he still does that. With the cut sleeves. I don't know if he still wants to be Bill.
I'll tell you what, Dave, Cinnamon Girl saying Bill Belichick is 71, so that's what.
Yeah, so is Pete Carroll. He's looking to coach. But yeah, these guys know. I mean, Belichick has let it be known he wants to. He don't give a shit if he's got to start from.
I gotta tell you,
like he's ready to. He's all in on the next.
I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna bring up Dave's point, then I'm gonna answer it, and then you guys answer it. He says, I don't see Belichick going anywhere except to a commentator booth, if anything. He has nothing left to coach for. I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. he wants to win just like Brady won outside the organization because that's
Yeah.
something hanging over his head.
Very good point.
So, yes, he will go to try and win one more to be right there with Brady because that's an ego game with him.
You know, I agree. We could probably talk this coaching stuff. We could make it its own show because, I mean, I think Dan Quinn would be a great fit in Philly. But whatever. We don't have to.
I love Dan Quinn.
Leave that up for. And I'm not a Quinn guy. I'm just saying he's a fit there, defensive guy, whatever.
I mean, out of the teams that are there, I mean, Philly is listen, they underachieved from what they have and what they started at. I mean, you don't just get that bad overnight after starting the season at what, 9-1?
It's a mess. Yeah, I mean, I think they're 10-1 at one point or something like that.
Was it 10-1?
I think I saw that. I might
think
be
you're
wrong.
right.
I think I read that. Yeah.
I think you might be right because they lost 3 in a row. I know that, or 4 in a row.
But let me comment on Dave's thing about Belichick going. So I know this might be a stupid analogy. Mob guys are talking about, you know how they get out of the life, they got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in jail, they do a wrong bid, they come out, and you say, you got all the money in the world, why do you still go back to that life and take chances?
True.
Because they can't get away from the action.
Can't.
And I'm sure Belichick still has that fire inside of him.
Got to hear the crowd, the noise, the lights, everything that goes with it.
And like you said,
can't get it out.
Let me give you guys an example of this. Belichick didn't take the Jets job because he wanted to go to New England to prove that he can win with Parcells.
Without Parcells, right.
There you go.
Okay. Now he goes to New England and he creates this dynasty and he wins all these Super Bowls with Tom Brady, right? Brady leaves, he wins a Super Bowl. Belichick hasn't won anything. I see Belichick trying to do the same thing. That's just my opinion.
Point, Tony. That's a very good point. Imagine the story that would be.
Tony.
Yes.
I apologize. Chris, no, I don't mean to interrupt. You guys are going to keep going. I'm sending a link for Tits McGee. He wants to announce something in our football show. That it's going to be good.
Go ahead.
You good with it? Everybody good with it?
Yeah. I'm good.
Anybody out there that wants to join in, you let me know.
And another thing, I got to be honest, Chris, that I see.
You got the link right there, Tits.
With Mike Vrabel available, you put OJ Mayo as your head coach? Unless they know something we don't know and he turned it down on the first day of being fired, something don't make sense to me. I don't.
That is fucked up.
I think he's trying to be loyal and controlling at the same time. That is not the guy I would have picked for my head coach right off the jump. If you're looking to rebuild something or something, you need somebody with some stability and experience. Yeah. What is OJ Mayo's experience?
I didn't even realize that. It not much that I know of.
I mean, when I seen that, I was like, what the fuck? I was completely shocked by that move. That's something I didn't think was going to happen. I didn't even think of him as a head coach, to be honest with you.
You're talking about Gerard Mayo.
Gerard Mayo, I'm sorry.
You're saying I'm thinking that's that's the basketball guy. Not much. I'm looking at it right now. It's like coaching timeline experience.
What was he 37? I think they said 37. A young coach. It's good. I mean, I love the age. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, Kraft that's his guy.
Well, then I don't think Kraft. Not that I wouldn't give Mayo a chance someday.
Yeah.
It's just not the guy to start a rebuilding process.
I guess he couldn't go with the kid, right? He wasn't going to make Belichick's son.
No, Belichick's son's going with Belichick. That's why I said, well, first of all, I don't think they wanted another Belichick in there right now. The Krafts want some control of what they bought. The Krafts also have an ego and never had full control of their own organization.
True.
The only thing he did coaching, he was just the linebacker coach from 2019 till
that's what he was. Yep.
Maybe,
right. And I think he brings them with him wherever he goes. I just like the fit in Philadelphia if Philadelphia blows up. He brings, you know what he brings to Philadelphia? Chris, you know what he brings to Philadelphia? Stability. He doesn't bring anything more, and the X's and O's get straightened out a little bit. But mental stability around the damn. You got guys fighting with each other on Twitter. I mean, this is a thing now. I could never get my head wrapped into kids like this at this age. Coming in there and they're calling the shots.
You know what it reminds me of? I saw this documentary on the Cowboys dynasty in the 90s. And when Jimmy Johnson left, they lost control. They still won with Barry Switzer, but Jimmy Johnson not being there, guys like Troy Aikman and the veterans, they had to make sure everything was going right. The practices were disciplined. People were doing what they're supposed to do. And they really stressed how, Jimmy Johnson was the guy that made sure everything was done right. And then the players had to take over because Barry Switzer didn't give a fuck. He's just like, they said like Barry Switzer thought because we had talent, we're returning champs, we could just go out and win again. And that's what it reminds me of. Like Belichick has that stability that Jimmy Johnson had, and the Cowboys lost it. And I absolutely think Belichick would be great for the job.
I'll tell you what about that Barry Switzer move. I think that was also a move by Jimmy Johnson because Switzer had this reputation as a knucklehead. I think they wanted to say, look, the Jones know how to win a Super Bowl as well.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I just remember, talking about Belichick and stability, it made me think of that, like, documentary.
You know what? If you're looking for stability, I think Mike Vrabel's the guy for stability as well.
I love Vrabel. But, we'll get into that.
But he's not fired yet.
Go ahead, say
he's not fired. The coach ain't fired yet, so let's not replace him. But I just think if they lose Monday night, I don't think he comes back.
Very, very possible. Very possible. I agree.
Especially with Laurie's, especially with the owner's demands. I don't see him coming back. All right, my boy, take over.
Pitch McGee, your uncle wants to hear you. Chris wants to hear you. I'm dying to hear what you have to say. Some will think I know what you're going to say. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. What do you got?
You guys hear? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We hear you.
What's going on?
Nothing much, my boy. What's
up?
Man?
What do you got going, bud?
Nothing much.
What do you got planned? What are we going to talk about here? You going to enter this YouTube world?
Yeah, I'm going to be dropping my own channel soon. More.
What are you going to be doing? I need Chris to hear this.
More on the scouting aspect of football, the personnel side, prospects.
So it sounds to me, let's see if I'm ahead of you, or it might sound like I know about this a little bit. I know a tidbit. Are you starting a new draft show where you're going to be doing draft? Are you talking about the draft, breaking down players?
So what we're going to be doing is, and I want, Chris, you, Tony, a lot of whoever wants to be on the show, we're going to be doing Monday night mocks.
Breaking down players?
We're going to be breaking down, not the best players, but, we're trying to find sleepers in the draft.
Love it.
Mid-level picks and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, Chris, this is Craig's son, Antonio, my nephew, Antonio. Antonio, this is Chris.
I didn't even realize that. I saw the last name being the same last name. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
No, my bad. Are you going to be doing mocks daily too, or are we just breaking down players? Because the world wants to see a mock.
Well,
so you got to give them what they want.
We're going to be doing Monday night mocks. So, a lot of guys like to put their mocks out, a few months before the draft. But a lot of the professional scouts and player personnel guys, they put their mocks out way too early before the combine. They start bowl. December is when they start actually going and doing it. So I want to
What makes you think you're knowledgeable enough to talk about this kind of stuff?
Well,
no, honestly, because somebody might ask you that. Is there somebody teaching you? Are you learning? I mean, how do you know what makes you different than the guy down the block? Maybe there's just something I don't know. Maybe there's something I do know.
Well, I'm in school right now. I'm at a scout.
Oh, you're in school.
Yeah.
So what are you telling me? You're going to become a certified NFL scout?
Yeah, that's what I'm in school for right now.
All right, so that helps a little bit. All right, let's see. All right, so you got a name of the show?
Let me give it. Yeah, what's your name of the show, Tonio? Let's get it going.
Well, I'm working on that right now. I got two that I really want to do. Prospects to Pros is one of them, or Sideline Scouting Report.
I think we should vote on it right here. What do you think, Chris?
What's that?
Are you really in school for this stuff?
Yeah.
I'm at school right now. It's called the Scouting Academy. I'm with Wade Phillips, Lewis Riddick,
that's really cool, man.
Gary Angelo, Daniel Hatman. We do
very cool
daily webinars.
The best thing out of that school will be connections.
Well, yeah. So
networking.
So I already have a seat at the Reese's Senior Bowl at a live classroom with Daniel Hatman and Louis Riddick. So that's going to be cool.
Very nice.
Really, Tone. So I'm glad you're really taking this seriously. And if anybody could do it, I know you can. I know him personally for a lot of years. This kid put his mind to something. He ain't not a kid no more, but he's always a kid to me. He's a young man. He will succeed in whatever he wants to do. I'm very proud of you, buddy.
You're very well spoken.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, I started the football. Obviously played through high school. A little stupid, but in terms of how I acted outside of the game. But had a chance to play at a Division I JUCO. Again, didn't put my mind to school, but playing was never the issue. And when I was 11 years old, my father took me to my first NFL draft, and that just so happened to be probably one of the greatest drafts to ever come out, which was, Darrelle Revis, Calvin Johnson, that Marshawn Lynch, that draft, 2004.
Yeah. What JUCO school were you at? If you don't mind.
I was at Erie. I played at Erie, which is down the block from Buffalo.
Yeah. No, where I live, they got a really good JUCO program, Lackawanna Junior College.
Oh, we played them, but that was actually so Lackawanna had a kid named Cordaro Patterson, and he's an
NFL guy, right?
So he was at a Lackawanna, and you also had Rasul Douglas, who my Steelers are going to be going against him. Hopefully not. Hopefully he's not.
You're going to see how quickly, once you get your certification, you won't be a fan of nobody no more, especially.
All right, hold on a minute, guys. We got a couple of questions here. Antonio, is it the channel you have now, or is it a new channel you're building?
No, it's going to be a completely new channel. This is for me to just, pay respects to other channels that I follow. This is my personal channel. I'm going to have a completely different channel.
Right. Okay. So, guys, in the chat, Cinnamon, as soon as we get all the information, I'll be sure to get it to you so you can drop his link.
Absolutely.
We're going to promote this show like it's our own show.
Yep.
Right. Nothing more than success for him.
I'm going to be doing a lot of, Q&As. I actually want to do a segment where you guys send me a player and we do a live scouting report on that player.
That's why, Chris, you can play a nice part in this too whenever you want. You know what I mean? But besides me and Tone, anybody.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna say something real quick here, Chris. It's about Chris. I met Chris through the mob genre. That's that. And Chris was always watching games. Excuse me.
Mikey.
And I would be giving him scores, and he would be giving me scores. And that's how me and Chris actually met each other. And Chris is a great guy. Chris is a good guy. So, Chris he's very educated with sports.
ABT.
So Chris would be a good, a great help and always a great guest. Or,
I love it, man. I love watching game film. See, I like all football, but I'm a diehard Penn State fan. I like college better than the NFL.
We're Penn State fans.
We're Penn State guys.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
About 8 years back, I joined like Rivals and then 24/7. Now, and I really got into following recruiting and watching a lot of the recruits that Penn State were trying to get in their huddle highlights.
Yeah, and that's cool. I love that stuff.
Oh, and I would break down like so much film because I want to know why Penn State's not walking.
Tony, tell Chris a little bit of how you grew up watching. What'd you watch me do for hours? And people would say, is he nuts?
Yeah, well, pretty much my father was a professional scout and film evaluator without getting paid. So he would, we would have competitions in my house on,
young. They were young.
Me, my father, my cousin, my brother, we would sit down and do a whole mock draft, and whoever got the most right would win. You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
And we weren't even trying to get, at this point, we weren't, we didn't even really know what we were doing. I just delved into it on the professional aspect of it a few weeks ago, and you think breaking down film, and you don't know anything. You have to.
Yeah, there's so much detail.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
They talk about.
I can't watch a review of a Penn State game without pausing it and replaying it over 10 times.
That brings me. I see Dex Dallas is in here. Tonio, this is for you. Dex is a dear friend of mine. Obviously, that's Tony knows Dex. Everybody knows Dex from our chats. Dex is very close with Texas's University of Texas offensive coordinator. He's also close with Scotty Montgomery.
Okay.
Wide receiver coach, been around forever. There's a lot of ways we can help, but you know what? Your reputation and how you break down film, everybody likes to mock. It's a guessing game. You can't predict trades, so it's hard. But you know what? As you go through it and you start telling people why you see what you see, like we talked about, it's not about wrecking a guy. It's about tell me what that guy can do for us. And that's what separates, because anybody can find flaws. Tell me what he can do good, and I'll show you a good scout.
So pretty.
I'm gonna ask you a question right off a jump. The Michigan quarterback or Washington quarterback coming out? Who goes ahead of who?
I mean, J.J. McCarthy is nothing but, Stetson Bennett. He was a product of his environment, a product of where he played. I don't think, if he goes in the first round, that's a team reaching. There's no question. There's no question in my mind that Michael Penix is wavelengths better than him. And I don't even think as a film evaluator, you can just be a regular person, watching the game, and you can see that. You
were big on Penix. I remember with the playoff game you mentioned him. How much?
Yeah. So you see the way he answered that question. That tells you that show's going to be good. That's why I asked that question.
I actually disagree a little bit.
That's good.
Well, that's what honestly.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what makes this awesome.
So I'm
so here's my thing.
Chris, give me yours.
Okay,
give me your opinion.
I think Caleb Williams, Drake May, and McCarthy, and I think our first rounders. I think Penix could be. I think Penix and Bo Nix are on the verge. Jaden Daniels to me is a total wild card. He could be a Lamar Jackson, or he could be whatever. The thing with Penix with me is I always felt he's very talented, but I always felt he was just your typical college quarterback in a great offensive system with great weapons going against inferior defenses. You watch him against Texas, he looked like the best quarterback in the world. You watch him versus Michigan, a stud defense that he's going to be facing in the NFL. He was confused. He didn't know,
very much so.
Right.
And here's the other thing. J.J. McCarthy, he played in a run, like a power run system. He wasn't in an air raid type offense. What if J.J. McCarthy was on Washington and Penix on Michigan? Like, what if J.J. McCarthy was in a different offense? You know what I mean?
I don't think after watching that game, I don't think it would have been a difference because I don't think they had the stability of the coaching once again.
Yeah, well,
and I think the guy going to Alabama,
Kyle DeBoer, I don't think that's a good fit for him.
I don't know where that came from, bro. You take it over, but that wouldn't be my choice.
I think they made a big mistake, and we were talking about it in the forums today. I think Dan Lanning should have got that job, but
I love Lanning, but he didn't want to leave.
He wanted to stay at Oregon.
Yeah,
and the other guy, Dable, Brian, what's his name? Dable with Clemson.
I really thought.
Dabo's
I gotta be honest with
he
you.
would have had to pay $150 million to buy himself out. and Alabama
I thought the coach from Texas was going to go there, to be honest with you. That's one of his outs. That's one of his outs.
I'm going to answer that J.J. McCarthy question. And it's not really, I don't have an answer to it because I didn't do the film work on him yet. So I'm going to just say this. I will go on record now saying, and it's not a big deal by saying this, I didn't do any of the work yet. I just started listing. I got about 60 names. I'm probably going to do about 80 players. You're going to do 1,000, whatever it is. What I'm saying is this. It's not a something crazy that I'm going to say, but I do believe, guys, whether you have a first-round grade on a guy, and I'm talking about in the scouting world, guys will get pushed in the first round just because it's a quarterback-driven league, as we've seen in years past. So that takes me to, will we see 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round when 2 of them have second or third round grades? And the answer to that is yes. I'll tell you that now. Whether they're first rounders or not, they'll be taken where they are in the first round.
This upcoming draft, you think?
No, I just think that whether we think a guy's a first rounder or not, he'll go just because it's a quarterback driven league and they're going to gamble.
So here's a question. if you're the
I didn't
GM,
break him down, so I can't give an answer on what I see.
If you're the GM of the Bears, you have the first and the 9th pick. Do you take a quarterback, or do you move on? Do you move on from Justin Fields?
Yeah, I love it. I love that question. I said yes, and I'll tell you why. I went even further into the numbers part of it now. Based off of skill, I would have said yes, because like me and Tony, we've been through this before, and Davey's a Bears fan, and it was not out of I don't like the Bears. No, and I used him as just a theory because he used to say it, but it's true. If you don't know what you have after year 3, well, then I don't need to see you in year 4. That's where we're at. So it's only going to cost you $6 million, I think they said, for next year.
And you got 2 first-round picks.
But by the time the 5th year comes around, now you're starting to talk about Daniel Jones money. Do you pay him $45?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. You got to make a decision on him by, I think it's March or May.
Here's my take on it is.
Yeah, but here's what you got to look at too.
If I can get a steal from him, I move him. That's just me. That's me.
But you got to also look at who's picking and what do they have right now, and you get a little bit more of a better judgment on where they go.
There's going to be quarterbacks right in their face.
Well, Carolina just took a quarterback. Are they going to take another quarterback?
Yeah, no, but I don't think they will. They should cut their losses. But that's just me. It's easy for me to say. I don't own.
Well, you got Washington, who's looking at probably taking a quarterback. New England, Giants, Tennessee, Atlanta. So here's my take on it. Every team's goal is to make it to the Super Bowl. To make it to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. Go back to the past 30 Super Bowl winners. Right. And every single Super Bowl winner, with the exception of maybe a few teams, always had a top quarterback in the league at the time. So seriously,
I know what you're
saying. Like a guy like Daniel Jones, he's decent, but he's not. Are you going to win Super Bowls with him?
No.
Past 30 years, how many teams win a Super Bowl without having one of the top quarterbacks in the league?
No, I'm Chrissy. I agree with you. Unfortunately, in order to get to the Super Bowl, usually you need a guy that can get you there. I'm not saying win it. You've got there's been game managers that have won Super Bowls, right? Yeah. Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer. We can go on and on, but I'm talking about longevity. We could get a guy to go in there. Nick Foles, as he did his thing in a big moment. Yes, we've had that. I'm talking about having that 10-year, 12-year career. And we could say this for another night. And because I have crazy strong opinions on this. I know you do. Tony does. Tonio does. And maybe our chat does. And we'll see where it goes. But that was, just that. And I love the input. Either way it goes, I love the input. And
well, here's a big thing that I was looking at. A couple of teams that are in the playoffs, not all of them, but a couple of them need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So do you jump in, or do you try and get an established quarterback from a team and let them draft a quarterback? I mean, there's a lot. Pittsburgh.
Great example.
If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm not happy at all with what I picked last year.
No,
I picked it to pick.
It's time to move on. It's just like Fields. You gave the kid a shot. He's not going to get you to where you need to go.
Chris,
but that's my thing. See, I don't think that we can compare Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett.
I'm not comparing their talents or their
I'm not even.
I just don't think they're either one.
Anything,
right? I'm talking about just a quarter. Yeah. Kenny Pickett,
arm strength, nothing. I got you.
Kenny Pickett has one game with more than one thrown touchdown. That's
scary.
No, is that that's not even game manager?
It's scary.
That's just my offensive coordinator doesn't trust me, and that's coming from the GM.
That's Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo left Kansas City because he wasn't trusted.
But I know what you're saying, Tom.
And to go back to the question about Justin Fields and the Bears, I'll tell you this: they have the 1st and the 9th overall pick. They have a chance to probably get the best receiver. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, they're saying since Calvin, a lot of people believe that.
Greatest of all time, but he's
high. Actually, I know what you're saying.
A lot of people rate him very high, but
right,
again,
Justin and Jamar Chases and all that.
Yeah.
They're great in NFL.
And the kid from Washington too, yeah.
You know, you have a
deep receiver
draft him, and you're going to pass on him for a guy that has not similar game to Justin Fields, but you're putting him in the same spot. You're putting Caleb Williams in the same what are you going to change? You're not going to give him Marvin Harrison. You're going to give DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. That's what you're going to do.
You know what makes this good?
But you
go ahead, Chris.
What I would see, but having the 2 picks, I would go the opposite way. I don't think Fields long term is the answer. I think Caleb Williams is super talented. I would take Caleb. So I take Caleb Williams, and then I would take the best available receiver at the 9th pick. You can get a Roma Dunze. You can get
you're looking at 9. You're probably going to be looking at like Malik Neighbors or
they're good. I mean, they're not Marvin Harrison, but they're still really good.
They're good. They're good.
Or hear me out. Or you go out and you go get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers, and now you put the ball in Justin Fields' court because you have not surrounded that kid with no talent, and you gave him 1 receiver in 4 years, and look what that receiver did this year.
DJ Moore?
See, I don't know what the whole Bears' biggest need is.
What do they think?
Like, I don't know if they need to build up their line better. I mean, obviously they need receiver help, but I just don't think. To me, I don't think Fields is the answer. And I hear what you're saying. Obviously, better weapons would help him.
If Dan Jones got $50 million a year,
I say this, and then I'm gonna give it to Tony, and I'm gonna bounce. But I just want to say this. I think by what Chicago is showing us by gutting the offensive staff and keeping Eberflus, that Justin Fields is going to get his 5th-year extension. Let's see. Let's see if I'm right or wrong on that. I could be wrong. That's just a guess.
Here's a quick example for you with Justin Fields. Like he didn't have the best receivers. They gave him a receiver this year.
Yeah, I want to give the kid an out.
So check this out. As an Eagle fan, I always wish they gave Donovan McNabb receivers a little quicker. He had to play the majority of his career with James Thrash and Todd Pinkston. Not good receivers, but McNabb carried that team and was even making it, pretty deep with those receivers. Where Fields, I don't know. I love them coming out of college. I don't see it. I don't know. But I mean, it would certainly be a huge help if he gets like a Marvin.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you think he's not the answer and you see 2 pieces that might be able to help you more, do you stay with him another year and see where you get down the road next year or the year after?
Yes, especially
you're not gonna win just because you get a quarterback.
Well, what about
now? But you get on the right path. I mean, I think Caleb Williams is so super talented. I know a lot of people don't always like his attitude, personality, whatever. I hear some people say that. Look at what CJ Stroud is doing for the Texans. I think Caleb Williams, if we're going to the draft this year, would you say, you might say the same thing. You don't just get a quarterback and turn the Texans around. Look at what he did for the Texans. I think Caleb Williams is even more talented than CJ Stroud, a little bit more. I just think he's too good to pass up.
Arm angle talent in terms of the Patrick Mahomes effect, but then you look at it.
That's overrated stuff, I think. But
you look at it in a different lens in terms of what the Bears could actually do. They drafted Braxton Jones last year, their starting left tackle in the 5th round, who got like a 60 grade. They can go out and get Marvin Harrison Jr. and at the 9th pick go get Joe Alt, who's a 6'7" road grader, and actually put Joe Alt or Ola Fashanu, 2 premier left tackles coming out that you're going to be able to get both of them. You can put him, whatever left tackle you want, next to Tevin Jenkins and Darnell Wright, who are both graded out.
How did Darnell Wright do this year? Because
I think he played well. I don't know. I watched some of his tape as a pro.
At the end of the year, like Broderick Jones, they started mauling people in the run game.
Yeah.
But he never played right tackle.
Yeah.
He was a premier left tackle guy. They moved him. I think if you put a left tackle in
he's huge.
With DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr., and in the 2nd round you come back and you get a guy like Donovan Edwards or Blake Corum in the 3rd, now you have an actual offense. Now the kid does you don't have excuses.
I just got something I need to say. Chris, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you as usual. Tony,
you got it, brother.
Thank you. Tony, if you want to say goodnight from
here.
here.
I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm going to say something here. The Bears are saying, okay, this is just a quick thing for you guys to think about till next time. The Bears are saying they will not take 2 offensive or 2 defensive players with the 1st and 9th pick. They said they are in desperate need of an edge rusher.
So they're going at least. So they're 1 offense player, 1 defense player.
So then you
look. And here's another thing. Wait, and then you guys can finish it up. So because you know more about it than I do. They're also saying that the Bears, having 4 times having 2 picks in the top 10, and 11 times having 2 picks in the 1st round, have never taken 2 offensive or 2 defensive players in a row. So with that, I don't know much about it, so I'm letting you guys answer it. I'm just giving you.
No, that's how they think about it. 100%. They don't. A lot of teams don't do the back-to-back offensive picks, but I think their defense is playing good. They invested in Jalen Johnson. I think they're going to keep him, so they're not looking for a corner. So we'll see. We'll see. But we'll talk more the next time we pop up.
I just wanted to thank everybody and tell you thank you so much, Chris, Tony. You
got it, guys. You got it.
We got more to do. Maybe we'll do a live Saturday or Sunday during the game. Who knows? Tony, I'll call you in a little while. Tony, I'll talk to you. Chris, you're
all right, guys.
regular, bro. We got a lot of things
Chris, thank you very much. Tony,
thank you,
love
everybody
you
in
guys.
the chat.
Thank
Cinnamon
you.
Girl, Benny,
Listen,
everybody. Thanks, Darren.
Could you
Everybody,
guys
love.
Email
Thank
me?
you.
Like, I'll give you my phone number. Email me. Tell me.
Definitely. I got your email. I'm going to send you mine to the email.
Okay, sounds good. Take care,
I'll
guys.
get
Be
your
well,
number
everybody.
from there.
Good night.
Be
Love
good,
you
guys.
all. Good night.